And we're live. It's the Mindstate Marketing Hour with Will Leach, and I'm your co-host, Steve Brown. And today we're talking about tips to boost your sales during cold months. Ooh, sounds chilly. What's up with that topic?
Man, we just got below 70 degrees in Texas. And so, the coldness is in the air. Our breath is starting to be seen. And so I said, I better prepare for a decrease in sales. And so that's what brought it to mind, man. I did a little bit of research for a change, actually, Steve. And I started looking at seasonality and what does the temperature and seasons do to our moods. And if you know anything about behavioral marketing, you know moods matter a lot as it relates to business. So I figured I'd pull a couple of things together for you guys and tell you some things you can possibly expect as the seasons change, how it's going to impact your business.
Awesome. So everybody, welcome. It's the Mindstate Marketing Hour. And as I like to say, this is how to use science to connect with your clients. And Will's got a book with a new look. It's not this look. It's that look. That's right. And so in Will's book, if you haven't read it, you need to, because does it sound weird?
My book sounds perfect, by the way. But no, you sound great.
All right, good. I was hearing a weird sound. So anyway, in Will's book, he talks about we go through the day and we change states of mind. And when we're in a particular state of mind, we'll change into a particular state of mind when we're considering certain decisions. And if you can figure out what are the common states of mind that people are in when they're considering your solution, then you would know how to tighten up your content to be more effective. And little did I know there was a chilly mind state.
Well, I'm not sure if there's a chilly mind state, but it does impact mind states for sure, man. We're complex, aren't we? Just human beings, man. We're so complex. There's so many variables. But yeah, temperature and seasonality is one of those variables we should at least consider as it relates to marketing.
Funny we should say chilly, because I was in a chilly state of mind last night, and I had seen this. It's called Chile Colorado. It's a sauce that you cook your meats in that are made from these chilies, and I made some. And it was awesome. So I was in a chilly Colorado state of mind last night.
There's some priming in there. I mean, we joke, but there's some priming in there, whether it's temperature or, the associations chili has with you. And you seem like a Texas, chili kind of guy too. So that makes a lot of sense. Good for you.
All right. So Will's book is Marketing Mind States, as we discussed. And so today's topic is top behavioral marketing tips to boost your sales during cold months. Now, why would you stumble across that showed us that winter can have a surprising effect on people's moods? I guess we would assume that we're all maybe grumpy, a little more like, I don't know. Are we more like a hermit state of mind at this time? I don't know.
Yeah, well, here's what the science tells you. So winter, in fact, does impact people's moods. And when people's moods are impacted, so are their desires to engage with other people and other people who try to sell them products. So, here's the deal, right? During the holidays, many companies explode with growth. Maybe, you're selling because of the Christmas spirit, right? People buy presents, right? So some of you guys grow. And other clients or other people don't grow during the holiday season. So what I want to do is, it's really complex, right? If you are a gift or something that can be given as a gift, you may see explosive growth. Or if you're a person who delivers products, you may see explosive growth. But like I said, if you're a business consultant out there, maybe a coach, maybe an author who's trying to sell some services, you may find that your growth stalls. And it probably has nothing to do with your marketing or anything else outside of that in the winter months, it impacts everybody's psychology. So I want you to make you aware of that impact. And we were going down the right path, Steve. It's a lot of that impact is around this idea called seasonal affect disorder. And you may know it as the winter blues, but it changes people's moods in bad ways, actually. So have you ever had that, Steve? You ever had the winter blues?
Yeah, actually, every once in a while, I get it in the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. What do you think makes you get it in the summer?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's like, I don't know. It's like if it's really hot outside or the mosquitoes or whatever, you hang out on the inside more, when you should be out getting the sun.
That is exactly it. That's exactly it, actually. I was hoping you'd say that. So it doesn't have to happen just in the winter. It can actually happen this summer, which brings us to the first point about seasonal affective disorder, this winter blues. A lot of people think it's because it's colder and I just get grumpier because of the temperature. It's not actually a temperature issue. It is a sunlight issue, and you nailed it. So in the winter months, in areas of the country where it's colder, you tend to not go outside as much. There tends to be a little bit more cloud cover as well. Not always, but more cloud cover. But also in the summer months, if it's very, very hot, you tend to not go outside as often. That's like us here in Dallas, right? All of our festivals end basically in early July, and they don't open up until October. So July, August, September are pretty sparse in terms of things to do. And you don't want to be outside. So it's not a temperature issue that can give you the blues. It is the lack of sunlight that can give you the blues. And these blues impact you and your customers in many, many different ways. I went through some literature this week, and here's some things that happen with seasonal affective disorder. So first off, this is a real phenomenon. This isn't like something I'm making up. Seasonal affective disorder is a type of seasonal depression, and people suffer from this all the time. I've suffered from this as well in the springtime. And what it reminded me of is when a couple of years ago, we had the flood of a century here in Dallas, where it just rained and rained and rained for days and days and weeks and weeks. And I remember at some point, I could tell that I was just down, and it didn't make any sense to me, but and I started realizing, oh my gosh, it's because I'm not going outside. I'm not getting the sunlight. And because of that, listen to all these things that can happen if you have, the blues, or let's just call it that. Irritability, feeling depressed most of the day, nearly every day. Sleeping difficulties, including oversleeping, so you can sleep too much. You have changes in appetite or weight, difficulty concentrating, feeling of hopelessness or worthlessness, losing interest in activities previously enjoyed, easily feeling agitated, feeling sluggish, tiredness or low energy, social withdrawal, which I think is the big key one for businesses, social withdrawal, and it can even get as bad as anxiety issues. It's pretty serious stuff. I'm sure millions of people out there suffer from the blues every year, and they don't know why. In fact, I had a business coach actually just recently tell me to be aware of that, because she was prepping me to saying, you know what, you're going to start looking at your business differently as a business owner. You're going to start looking at the things that are going wrong. You're going to start getting questions of whether I should be doing this or not. And she goes, don't be surprised this happens, because it's normal in this type of year. And I study psychology all the time, and I didn't think about that as being this type of year. But as she explains to me, yeah, you start questioning yourself a little bit more. You start holding off on decisions, things like that. So winter blues are real, not even as a business owner, but like I said, I want to concentrate on today is your customers are also going through, some percentage of them are coming through these winter blues. And so how do you adjust for that? What should you expect if your customers have these blues? How should you expect to kind of react to that?
So you've broken them down into 4 ways. Seasonal affective disorder impacts your business, marketing, and sales. So number 1, obviously people become less social.
That's right. So since we have the blues, social activities become less and less important to us, right? It's the classic, I don't want to go out, I don't want to see anybody. And then you justify it, right? Your customers justify it by saying, I don't want to get dressed up, or it's such a hassle, or I feel ugly, or I've gained weight, whatever. But really what's happening is that people become less social, and therefore they aren't as responsive to marketing in general, because that's an engagement. When you market to somebody, when you do an advertisement, that is a possible engagement. And so you should expect to see your metrics lower than you would, in a month or 2 beforehand, right? So what you're going to find is in that not only will your marketing suffer, but if you have a company that brings people together, or if you know that you're driven by the belonging motivation. So we talk about 9 motivations in the book, Marketing Mindstates, and belonging is the desire to feel aligned, accepted, and connected with others. And so social media is kind of driven in some part anyways by belonging. Group events are brought together because people desire belonging. You should expect fewer attendees in your webinars, in any kind of a social event than normal. And your emails and your text messages, if you're doing any kind of things like email or text, and you're trying to engage somebody with a one-to-one, you should expect that those rates are probably going to drop a little bit, as well as phone calls. When you call people, they're less likely to pick up. Even if these are clients that love you, they're less likely to pick up. And we tend to imagine, well, it's because we're busy during the holiday season, but just realize there is some percentage of those people are doing that because psychologically they just don't feel very social, and you're trying to create a social relationship with somebody who just doesn't feel up to it at that point.
Going to a social event when you don't feel like it's really stressful. It's like it can be just draining.
Yep, I agree with you. And not even just draining, but then also the whole energy that you give to other people is draining as well. Like, have you ever tried to talk to somebody you knew didn't want to be there, and you're trying to, you're trying to engage, you're trying to start up a conversation, they're not reacting, and that's what's happening with your marketing, right? And so it drains you as the person trying to make that engagement, So, I don't know. It's just, I think you got to expect that if your engagement rates are going to drop, which I would expect that they are, in part because of these, seasonal affect disorder, then I was thinking about, well, what would I do differently if I know that somebody doesn't want to pick up and have a phone call with me? If I know that they don't want to go to a dinner with me or some sort of an event where we're all going to get together where normally they would have, or maybe my webinar attendance is dropping, how can I overcome that? Well, quit trying to create, at least during this couple of winter months, this one that's kind of relational, like I need to get feedback. And I just wrote here, increase your video emails that you send to people and be cheery. So you taught me how to do that, Steve, right? Where we use Vidyard now to, rather than write out long emails, sometimes you'll just say, hey, Will, I got a quick 3-minute recording. I want to talk to you about something, right? And not only is that just very novel, and I think it's really cool to get your face in front of somebody and you create, this greater empathy and I guess, feeling of like togetherness, but it also, what it's really good at doing is you can be cheery. You can cheer people up. And I'm not suggesting you call your customers and say, hey, I'm here to cheer you up. What I am suggesting is that this one to none almost interaction, like send these video emails more often and just be cheery as best you can. Hopefully you're not suffering too much from it. Be cheery. And that could be just enough to kind of pep them up a bit. They'll remember you with that pepped up kind of emotional feeling, and you'll benefit from in the long run.
Excellent idea. Excellent. People become less impulsive and won't browse as much. So expect lower trial metrics.
That's right. So when we have the blues, when we have kind of this seasonal affect disorder, what the research tells you is that people's impulsivity falls. That matters to you if you have a lot of upsell opportunities. If you are selling something, a program, or you're selling a product, and then, hey, if you buy this, for an extra $5, you get this extra gift or whatever. You should expect that to fall. Why? Because impulsivity is a function of what we call hedonics. And when people have a high hedonic charge, meaning they have high emotional arousal, they're more open to buying new things, to buying off impulsivity, buying off emotion. But when people are kind of depressed, have a sign of depression, they're less likely to be impulsive. They're less likely to browse as well. People that are kind of have the blues, they don't want to just go surf all over the place. They want to oftentimes find what they want and then get out. So if you are going to, basically launch a new innovation, or if you have a new program, you may find, I don't know, but you may find that your rates of trial, meaning people that take advantage of this offer, are going to fall. Why? Has honestly nothing to do with your messaging, nothing to do with your products. It's that they are in the blues, and blues keep people from getting emotionally excited to take on that extra thing. And honestly, the biggest part, actually, you said it, Steve, a couple of minutes ago. It's because that you create an avoidance. You're trying to avoid social activity. You're avoiding things that are complex. You're just naturally just avoiding. You don't want to deal with anything. Well, for you to try a new product, avoidance is the worst. We call it approach in our book, but that cautious approach that you may have is the worst thing you can have if you want to drive somebody, or if for your customers to have. It's really bad if your customers are avoiding any decision that they're making. So it's another reason why you can expect your trial numbers to go down.
That's interesting. Obviously, I'm just trying to think of what you could do to get them. Is like, okay, go and stand outside and then text me, or you can try to get right.
Well, what's funny about it, and this isn't a great thing to do, but what if you just said, you know what, maybe I need to drop that innovation in January. So remember what happens in January. Even though people get the blues, January is associated with new beginnings. It's the new year. It's the first day of the year, the first week of the year, the first month of the year. There's such a strong association with new beginnings that, let's say if I was going to offer something that was really important to me in November, but I got a feeling like, you know what, my customer base, they're not engaging with me right now. Is that the right time to offer a brand new service? I don't know. I may consider waiting till January 1st and then somehow associating this new offer with new beginnings, new you, because that actually, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, that actually oftentimes helps people get out of the blues, at least for a couple of days, because people associate that time of the year with fresh thinking, with new behaviors, things like that.
That's really smart. Actually, that's a great idea. Yeah, people like they set deadlines to go live on the 1st of the year, and that's a natural inclination to taking advantage of that new start.
Yeah, very much so. It's a nice small little detail you can do. That's why I love behavioral design, right? If you know these nuances, you can make better decisions, more informed decisions anyways. And so definitely 1st of the year is a great day to offer. If you're going to do a huge product launch, it's a great day to do it.
So number 3, tell us about this one, Will.
That's right. So people become more cautious when making purchase decisions. So here's what happens. You should expect lower customer satisfaction ratings. And it has nothing, again, to do with who you are, your service. What happens is that people are grumpier. They're depressed. So they're less likely to rate experiences as being highly satisfying, right? Because they're not satisfying from a psychological perspective. They're not. So what happens oftentimes as well is when you have slightly low amounts of depression, or you have the winter blues, you tend to become more focused and you're making concentrated decisions. I mean, you're concentrating really hard, or much harder than you normally would, when you're making decisions. Why that can matter is that people who are concentrating really hard when they make a decision, they are less likely, again, to rate their experience with you highly. If they're depressed and concentrating, they're not noticing they're noticing like the facts and what they're trying to get from you, but they're not noticing the emotions that, your delivery of that service provide. So you should expect slightly lower product ratings, or no product ratings. People just don't want to rate you at all. So, what I like to think of is, don't try to get your, sometimes you want to get a testimonial from somebody. Be careful about asking for a lot of testimonials in the winter months, because people are, frankly, less engaged. They're a little bit more critical of themselves, critical of you. They don't have a lot of emotional, these people won't have a lot of emotional reaction anyways. So hold off if you can wait to get testimonials till the springtime, when people are new beginnings again, right? People are happier when the sun's out and they're getting outside and things like that. So if you can hold off on your testimonials, wait until the spring, and you tend to get higher response rate in your testimonials, as well as happier testimonials.
I'm thinking about, I read this book about Ernest Shackleton, and he was an explorer in the Antarctic, right? And his story, they go down in the ship, and their strategy is to land on one side of the Antarctic and go all the way across the South Pole and then be picked up on the other side. But what happens is the ice captures the ship, and they get stuck, and then their boat gets crushed. And so there are long periods of darkness that happen during that. And as a leader, Shackleton innately knew that he needed to get his men to stand around fires. And so he would recognize when they started to be melancholy, and he would have little sessions where they came and sat around a fire. And I was just thinking of the fireside chats and how maybe you could set up your atmosphere in your background to have a fire going to deliver a message that might give you that experience or that impact from.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but I think you can do some small things in your background, in your voice, when you're communicating with people to get them to feel more emotional. These are subtle things, and don't think of these as deep depressions, right? These are just people feel blues. And so there are small things you can do, just like Shackleton did, with using light and using sound and music, things like that can actually help improve the emotional state of your customers. So you should be using that, especially if you have a retail store. I mean, especially if you own a website that people buy off of, or if you have a retail store out there, a restaurant, whatever, you could do all sorts of amazing things to try to improve people's moods.
People become more irritable and ruder. That's like, in the Northeast, they have a reputation for that, right?
Yeah, no, it's true. And maybe there's a little bit of seasonality in there, right? So here's what the data tells you is that you actually get worse sleep during the winter months. Even though you think, wait, there seems like it's longer nights, the cold weather, people love to bundle up. Actually, the science tells you that you're more likely to wake up multiple times during the night when you have seasonal affective disorder. And because of that, you're grumpy. You have fewer positive feelings. So you're going to be more irritable. Your customers are going to be more irritable because they're getting less sleep. And they're going to be ruder, right? And it's not because you've done anything wrong. It is everything because they are lacking sleep. We get worse sleep when we have bouts of depression. Also, did you know that, again, there seems to be a correlation between the winter months and chronic conditions and chronic pain. And it doesn't seem to be associated with temperature. It has to do with sunlight. So I'm not sure how that works, but either way, if your customers are older or they have conditions that are chronic in nature, they're probably actually feeling more pain. And when people are feeling irritable and they have more pain, they're going to be ruder to you. And what you find is that in the winter months, and this could be seasonality, but it could also be just kind of the associations we have with the ends of years, there's actually an increase in introspective thinking, meaning that people reflect on their year, their life towards December. In December, sometimes in January, but they tend to look at the end of the year and reflect backward. And the problem is that most people, especially when they have depression issues, they look at the negative side of their life, right? These are the things I haven't accomplished this year. These are all the goals that I set that I never came close to. My life isn't nearly as good. So they are self-judging themselves more than ever. Like in December, we tend to overly be critical on ourselves. You'll focus on your mistakes. So you should, because of these things, right, you should expect more complaints and even more returns, meaning that people will buy from you. And then what happens is they get it home and they're like, I don't want this after all. It's not because your product is bad. It is because that they have seasonality disorder, right? They're more irritable. They find small things that they weren't expecting in your program or whatever, and they get overly exaggerated on what that means to them, and they don't like it as much. And so therefore, they want to return their products. So you should expect that you're going to have slightly higher complaints as well as higher rates of return or requests for returns.
So ways we can help our customers who suffer from the winter blues.
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and the normal stuff. Here's what I tell you. So I'm gonna break this really quickly about if you suffer from seasonal blues versus if your customers. If you are suffering from seasonal blues, I'm not a psychiatrist or whatever, but I will say go get sun, exercise, and socialize. Force socialization. That will help you make better decisions for your company. If your customers have seasonal blues, and I'm telling you, there are millions and millions of people that have it, so you better expect some percentage of your customers have it as well. Give grace. If you know that they're not normally irritable, that it's just the time of year, give grace. If somebody wants to, give you a bad plug on social media, If they return products to you, if they're a little bit short with you over the phone, take a deep breath. Realize it's probably not them. It's more the seasonality. They're trying to go through their own thing. So give grace. Just be really open to this idea. Say thank you so much for your feedback and move on with your day, because it's not probably them as much as it is the state of mind they're under.
Do a few check-ins.
Yeah, I think in business, we forget that our customers, we should be treating them like family. And if I know a family member could be having a bad day, what do? I don't check in on them and say, hey, where's my Christmas card? Hey, when are we going to start talking? Like, I don't look at them as a transaction. I just check up on them and say, hey, how you doing? Mm-hmm. So what I would tell you to do, this is a time of year when you should do a few check-ins and not talk about business. So if you have an article out there, or if you think, you know what, I have something I just want to talk to people about, do a check-in. Call one of your key clients, say, hey, I was just thinking about you. Just want to check in on you. Even if they don't answer the phone, do a video email and just say that. That little bit, like doing a check-in, helps people know that they're cared for. Like somebody's thinking about them outside of a financial transaction. So do a few check-ins. Don't talk about business. Talk about, hey, I noticed that our favorite football team, has made it to the playoffs, or I was thinking about you because of this funny story or whatever. But do that, because in this time of year, people feel like they're isolated. In fact, there's a lot of isolation out there this time of year. People aren't going out as much. So realizing that your customers feel isolated, check in on them. Even if it's a one-to-mass, send an email out there, not selling anything, but just send an email out there saying, hey guys, had a great year, was just so thankful for you. Have a great Christmas, or have a great holiday season, whatever. That is a check-in that does not require a transaction. And you can actually, just help somebody, get on with their day feeling a little bit better about themselves.
Then give physical and psychological warmth.
This is what you were talking about, Steve. You're like, you know what? If I know that people are a little bit down, give them physical and psychological warmth. Meaning, so if you own a store, or you have people coming into your retail, whether it's a gym, a restaurant, whatever, there's actually I was looking at this up. There's actually an optimal temperature that you should set your stores during the winter, and it's 78 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you are going to combat this, set your thermostat a little bit higher than what you normally do, because apparently that's the optimal temperature that people will kind of get out of this feeling of the blues. So, but not just like, think about softer textures. Think about warm, like I love your background, right? I see kind of in the background, it looks like a beautiful ocean. Like that stuff matters. If you believe in behavioral design, if you believe in priming, you should believe that those associations I have with that screen behind you, Steve, right now, they impact me in an emotional way. My brain can't figure out, it's not designed to figure out what it's real versus what it's seeing. It's just not that way. So what it does is you could prime somebody by putting more cheerful music. You could prime people by putting happier pictures, more bright pictures in your background or in your store. So that's providing physical warmth. And then physical warmth is the temperature. Psychological warmth is things like, brighter backgrounds, better music on your hold, all those types of things, just to increase emotions for people. Give them a little pep, and you may benefit a little bit from that.
Excellent. All right. Hey, by the way, today's Veterans Day, and wanted to tell you, thank you for your service.
Hey, thank you, Steve. I've had a bunch of people reach out to me. Everybody go out there and thank a veteran. Lots of sacrifices have been made for generations now. So thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. And other veterans out there, we appreciate what you've done for us.
Yeah. So, okay. So now it's that time where we're going to make Will dance a little bit. We've got some questions that sent in. We appreciate all you folks that submit these and are asking these. And if you're getting some value from this, be sure to like, subscribe, whatever those things are that all the cool kids say when they're doing this. We appreciate it, and it shows that you're appreciating it. So what's the best format for high converting emails, Will?
Yeah, there's so many ways you can answer this, right? But if you want to know the best format for high converting emails through a psychological perspective, here's the format you should use. First and foremost, make sure that your email is simple. It's not overly cluttered. You have a lot of white space, and you're using every word for its deliberacy. But on top of that, what you want to do is, I look at the world through mind states and through psychological mind states. And because of that, I would tell you that if you want a high converting email, do this in your headline. The first thing you do in your headline or in your subject line is make sure that you're telling people that you're going to help them reach their aspirational goals. It's something I talk about in my book, Marketing Mind States. After that, you want to give them the emotional fuel that they may want to keep reading your email. So very high up in your email, you want to make sure that you are talking about how if they read this email or continue kind of engaging with it, that they're more likely to feel one of 9 desires that I talk about in my book. After that, you want to lower resistance to your email. How do you do that? You write in a way that feels natural. And you can do that through one of 2 ways. You can either write to them and tell them that by reading this email, they're going to learn things that can help them maximize good things in their life. Or by reading this email, they're going to minimize bad things from happening in their life, and try to be consistent in that, in your bullet points in particular. At the very end, if you want to convert, you got to have a strong call to action. It has to tell somebody what to do and when to do it. You got to create some immediacy on it and a time limit on it. That converts emails. So when you do those 4 things really well, you're much more likely to get highly engaging, converting emails. For those of you who are listening and not watching, Steve behind him put a fireplace, and I just feel happier, man. I just feel like I could talk another hour or 2. That's a great job. Nice fire.
All right. What types of jobs are there for behavioral marketers?
Yeah.
Great question here.
It is, man. So if you are into behavioral sciences and marketing, you are in the golden age of this industry. There is so much work and opportunity in behavioral marketing in the last decade. It's going to continue for the next 30, 40, 50 years. It's going to be massive. Why? Every major government in the world is investing in behavioral marketing. They don't call it behavioral marketing, but it's behavioral marketing. Every major company in the world is investing in behavioral marketing. So here's what I would do if I was you. If I was going to tell you, there are basically probably 3 careers you can have in behavioral marketing. One is in the advertising space. So if you are going to be a part of an ad agency or a marketing agency, become a brand planner. They call it a brand planner in many cases, but really what that is it's a strategist who understands how to deliver really impactful marketing creative. Doesn't mean that you have to be a designer, though I think that's interesting and cool. I think if you're a brand planner, you can bring the sciences into other people's work and to create really engaging content. So become a brand planner. Next, you can become a brand manager of some kind, right? That is somebody who is responsible at the client side, who's trying to engage their customer to grow their business. It's the client side. Become a brand manager and understand how to use behavioral marketing, because in today's world, it's no longer acceptable for you to create engaging ads. You need to create advertisement and grow businesses. That is what you're supposed to do. If you're a brand manager, you need behavioral sciences to do that. So if you're into behavioral marketing, become a brand manager. The third thing, go into insights. That's what I've done, right? Go into understanding how the human mind works and helping convey these learnings to businesses. You can do that as a consultant, or you can do that as internal into a large company and a marketing research firm. So I would say become a behavioral insights consultant, become a behavioral marketer inside a firm, or become a brand planner that uses these concepts. Ultimately, they're for the same thing, right? You can use these sciences to grow your business, or somebody else's business, and that makes you incredibly wanted and desirable in today's market.
Ooh, it's getting hot in here.
Why don't you turn down that fire a little bit? Hey, it actually did.
So, all right. The next one is, what is the top challenge for behavioral marketers today?
It's probably the same challenges that have been plaguing marketing for the last 20 years. Breaking through the clutter. Well, there's probably 3 I'm gonna say, but I would say the first one to me is breaking through the clutter. Even when you have optimized marketing, it's still incredibly difficult to break through the clutter. Why? Because anybody can market to anyone, anywhere in the world, at any time of day for virtually free. Social media and technologies allowed this. So because of that, there is so much more marketing. You know the stats, right? Between 6,000 and 10,000 advertisements are seen by you every single day, and it's only going to grow. So because of that, breaking through the clutter is really a big challenge, even when you have optimized marketing. Second thing would be, how do you differentiate yourself from tens of thousands of people who are saying they do the exact same thing as you? And in today's world, that's arguably probably true. So how do you create a very distinct point of view? I talk about that in my program and how to help you create a distinct point of view, because even if you break through the clutter, you got to be able to have a distinct point of view that says, oh yeah, now I've narrowed down my choices down to 15 companies. Why should I choose your company versus the other 14? And then the third one is, and we try to do this a lot in this show, is help you understand how to develop deep empathy. If you don't have empathy for your customer, if you're not using the same words they use, if you don't really know them at a deep emotional, psychological level, then you're constantly going to be throwing kind of spaghetti at the wall, that phrase. You're never really going to be able to hone in on that deep, dark kind of need and that desire that they have. So building that empathy is still going to be a challenge for behavioral marketers. Why? Because we avoid being marketed to. So it's even harder to talk. We avoid customer service, customer satisfaction studies and marketing research. So it's really hard to build empathy. That's why I always tell people the best job for you to go into is a job that you use. If you're going to be a consultant, you want to go and serve people who are just like you, because you understand them at a deep level. It's because you have empathy.
Well, excellent job.
Cool.
These questions are important and people are really wondering. So I appreciate it. You know, this episode was on fire.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad we could bring the warmth to the show. I'm glad that we had some time to work together, Steve. And hopefully this will kind of give some people some things to think about. My big point, right, is just expect it. You may not be able to do a whole lot, but expect these things to happen. Hopefully I gave you a few tips that can make you a better, more successful marketer.
Well, as I say, I'm probably the smartest guy in marketing because I hang out with you every week on the Mindstate Marketing Hour, where we all learn how to use science to connect with your clients. So, Will, is anything happening this weekend a little bit special?
There is something very special happening in the Leach household. So I am actually, I love the close-up. I am actually traveling to Tennessee to go pick up my mom and my dad, and then we are driving all the way. So I'm going from Dallas to East Tennessee, so all the way over there by North Carolina. I'm driving there on Saturday to turn around on Sunday morning, drive all the way back to Dallas so I can, work on the business on Monday. So we're bringing my parents down for a couple of weeks, and over Thanksgiving, we're going on a cruise. So we're taking the family on a cruise, and I'm going to pick up the family to bring them into the house and experience the Leach household, get the Christmas tree up, all that stuff. So it'll be good. It's going to be a lot of driving this weekend.
Driving, good. Well, that sounds like fun, and you guys do it. We're going to see everyone here next week, same time, and we're going to do the rollout here. Let's see if I can do this right. You ready? Here we go. How to use science to connect clients. Do you know we're now on a podcast? You can subscribe to all the places that you listen to your favorite podcast, and be sure to check us out on our YouTube channel and like and subscribe there. Share it with your mom, your best friend, your neighbors, because we're always learning something cool on the Mindstate Marketing Hour. That's a wrap. Good job, Will.
Thanks, Steve.